Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good following morning. This is AMA number 92. It is July 28th, 2022. I am with my long-suffering, faithful co-host, Rabbi Avi Baumel. How are you, Rabbi?
Bearded Rabbi Avi Baumel. That's
well.
right. Rabbi's brother. I am doing wonderfully. I'm here in Krakow, and it is the 29th day of Tammuz. You know what that means, Jonathan? Tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh Av, the beginning of the 9 days, the dreaded 9 days. That
I personally do not dread the 9 days, Avi.
Do you not really?
No, I embrace them. Without destruction, there is nothing to build.
Interesting. If you would not be able to shave and would not be able to eat meat, which isn't the problem for you, and would not be able to wash your clothes, and would not be able to go to concerts or go to movies during these nights and certainly get married, then you too would be sad.
Well,
which is the purpose.
1 second. For 9 days, you don't wash your clothes, but why don't you just wear different clothes for 9 days?
You cannot wear newly laundered clothes for 9 days. You could Shabbat is different, but for 9 days, you're supposed to walk like as if you're in mourning. And when people are mourning, they wear the same kind of dirty clothes. And you're not supposed to even shower with hot water. That's how strict it is.
It's like crazy talk to me. But we should also mention before we get into our usual, somewhat hopefully entertaining light banter, that we have a wonderful guest today, our final guest of the season, Shabbos Kestenbaum.
Shabbos. Gotta love Shabbos.
We love Shabbos. You know what? It could be that I love Shabbos Kestenbaum more than I love Shabbos.
I tell you, once you get the name Shabbos, you think that's enough. And turns out he makes the name. Like he's as good as the name comes.
He's worthy of the name.
He's a good one.
So we're looking forward to him. We've been very lazy. I have to say, completely my fault. I've been very lazy. This is the thing with my personality, very OCD. If I'm doing something, I do it all the time. And if I don't do it all the time, I kind of let it go. The AMA, I did it every week, chop, 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 never let it go. And now I've been a bit of a slacker with it, but I do declare publicly for the thousands of people that might eventually watch it and the dozen or so that are watching now, I will do a better job with the AMA starting in September. Wow.
For the thousands of people he does declare. Okay, well, I will be his trusty co-creator or co-panelist on this and go along with you whenever you're ready. Co-rabbi.
Right. I will continue to ignore the call, the tons of emails and letters I get, people begging us to go back to the original format. I will continue to ignore them.
I've seen the packages of fan mail, and the truth is, mostly it's just in support of me, asking why I don't just do this on my own. After
why don't you get your own show?
I think about it a lot. I'm too busy writing books.
You are a busy man.
What a segue.
You're a busy man. We will talk about your book, but before holding it conveniently, Avi using his book to sit on to make sure he's tall enough for the show. I did make up something the other day that I'd like to share with everybody. Somebody was introducing, I was doing a talk for Citibank, which was a very nice talk. And I tried not to make it only about my personal relationship with Citibank in Poland. It was for Citibank International. We have wonderful people, the director of Citibank in South America. And it was really some super people from Citibank that are getting very involved with our efforts for Ukraine. But anyway, when they were introducing me, it might've been that one or a different one. Anyway, someone was introducing me and they said Q&A. And then I thought that they said Jew and A. And then I thought, wait a minute, Jew and A should be a thing, because like I make a speech and then people don't have questions for the most part. They tell me they have opinions and they yell back at me. So I think Q&A with Jews is like Jew and A, opinions. They give their opinion and they make a speech and then you respond to it, not to a question. What do you think?
I think it's been said already. I'm sorry, I don't think you created that.
I Googled it and there's nothing for Q&A.
Not everything that that has been said is on Google. So I think you might be in dangerous waters here if you want to claim copyright.
What did Rabbi Tarpon said it in the 2nd century CE?
The 2nd century, there is a Talmudic statement about Jew and A. So you have to be careful about these things.
Probably is. So Rabbi Avi, let's cover it. Let's go through the last few weeks since I am embarrassed.
Oh my.
That it.
It's been a while.
We had the bicycle ride. Big success. Big success.
Hardest bike ride of the year, of the 7-8 years.
97 degree heat.
97
Very
degrees.
tough, but I think it was the best organized. We had 200 people.
Extremely well organized. Extremely well organized. Yeah, I couldn't, there's always a meeting afterwards and come up with ideas and how could we make it better. I couldn't think of ways to make this one better.
Ways to make it slightly better, but there was nothing major. We didn't have any real issues. I thought it was by far the smoothest bicycle ride that we've had of the, I think it was 8. 7?
Was it 8? I thought it was 8.
14 was the first one. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 is 6. 20, 21 was separate. It was the 7th.
Okay. 7th one.
Very nice. And
very successful.
Festival itself was smaller this year. I didn't feel like it was very much festival. We were part of it though, and did a lot, which but it wasn't so, you it didn't have the final concert. So it was kind of lacking. You didn't get that oomph of the big Saturday night concert.
Listen, I spoke to Janusz and he said it was the 34th festival. 34 years. It's a long time to go, and to be able to keep it up, but it certainly was a little more subdued this year. Yeah, and hopefully, maybe some things will change for next year.
Oh, Sebastian is reminding us. I just want to get to our. We have some friends making comments. I saw Jeffrey there. Randy Brenowitz, our good friend from the Palo Alto, is saying it was on the Melton talk that I said it, and then Sebastian was saying that could be a name. We were talking about it. That could be a name for instead of the AMA. What do we call it? A Jew and a rabbi in Krakow or something. It could be Jew and A and then AVI like Avi.
Okay. Always.
And Saul Schachter, I saw the comment. I lost the comment, but I saw it a minute ago. Hello, Saul Schachter. We have 3 of the top. We have 4 loyal fans, of course. Saul, Randy, Jeffrey, and Benji. I don't see Benji, but 3 of our 4 fans are on there.
What was it, Saul Schachter, who wrote in the comments that he's wondering what Shabbos' kids are going to be named?
Saul Schachter was writing, yes. We will
Minyan.
Ask Shabbos. Minyan.
Kiddush. Yantiv.
Yantiv's a good one. I think Yantiv.
Stuck up. There's no end.
So right after the festival, there is no end. Right after the festival, a couple of days later, I went to Greece. Kasha, the baby, and I went to our little island of Kalymnos in Greece, which was wonderful. Actually, Vicky and her daughters met us there, and we spent 3 days with them, hanging out and showing them our little island. And then they went back to New York, and we stayed for another week and just hung out in the sun, ate good
I have a feeling that if you had just a few more zeros, you would be buying that island. That would be the Jonathan Island. That it's your happy place. There's a smile that comes over your face. You don't want to know. You shouldn't even tell us the name. It should be just.
It's hard enough. No, the beauty of the island is that it's hard to get to. Relatively, it's not the end of the world. It's not Easter Island, but it's not so easy to get to. Which means, like, for example, on the way back, I took a taxi to the ferry to the other island, a bus from the ferry to the airport, flight to Athens to Warsaw, taxi to the train station, train to Krakow, taxi back home.
I just got tired.
17 hours with the baby to get from Kalymnos door to door from our hotel to our house. But it was worth it.
Was this Aya's first exposure to the wonderful island that
It
you
was
so dearly love?
That's a first. Aya's doing very well, 5.5 months. Thank you. She loved Kalimnos. She was wearing 50 sunscreen and we had her under an umbrella the whole time. Yes, she got tan. I think it just comes from me and Kasha. If you're our child, you probably have some ability to get tan. Doesn't matter if sun doesn't need to be involved. You're our kid, you're getting tan.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
So that was a lot of fun.
During this time, I was in Israel and I was at my nephew's Maccabiah tournament because he was a member of the under-18 basketball team in the United States. And they had a great run and they won the gold medal. It was very exciting. They played against Israel in the finals and it was close.
1 second. Who are you rooting for, Rabbi Avi?
I was rooting for Caleb. I was rooting for Caleb first. And then I got to know the American team, and it was really nice. So I felt bad. AJ, on the other hand, he was rooting for the Israeli team. And what could he do? He's Israeli, so he was rooting for Caleb and the Israelis.
Sorry, he's also American.
Canadian.
And wait, he doesn't have an American passport?
He does, but he wants to get rid of it. Actually, he doesn't think it's worth it.
Worth what? It doesn't cost him anything.
Taxes and filing, and he's all crazy. Some of the kids don't want to bother with it.
I see. Interesting.
But anyway, it was a wonderful experience. My sister was in town and we spent a lot of time together, which I haven't done. Who gets, when you're older, to spend time like for a week hanging out with a sister? Who does that?
Not me.
So I really enjoyed it.
But you mentioned relatives though, and hanging out with his sister. My brother, I should have mentioned, my brother came for the bicycle ride and he brought his daughter, Alexandra. And Alexandra at October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, 10 years and 8 months and 2 weeks became the youngest ever to finish Ride for the Living. At 10 and a half years old, 97-degree heat, very impressive.
And she did a great job. I was watching her, and she had a great smile on her face, and was happy with it. And it was great spending time with your brother as well. He was great.
Yeah. But she's a real sweetie. She's pretty cool. She's destined for big things. She, I did an interview with her, and I said, "Oh, Alex, how was it? Are you, oh, it was great. I was really this." And she goes, "I go, oh, are you gonna do it again?" She goes, "No." Right away. No.
But it was so wonderful hanging out with your brother, just a less intense version of you. I mean, it's like the best of both worlds.
Come on, my intensity is
it's charming.
I feel like my brother and I are very, very different.
In some ways, still family. He's very, very congenial and very friendly, lovely guy. So that was a successful trip. Yes, family related. We all did good.
Avi, is that a new book you mentioned earlier? I'd love to hear about it.
I did mention this book. Yes, thank you for letting me popularize it and sell it. Everyone get out. Who doesn't want to read a 600 pages Polish book on the Jewish calendar and the Jewish holidays? So it's actually quite nice. A project. It was suggested by Rabbi Shidrich during COVID. I was stuck in Israel, and he said maybe write a book because the Jewish community.
Does he work like when you give your kid to just draw on something when they're in the bank waiting or something?
Exactly what I did. I spent a year on it, and I went through all the laws and the philosophy of the Jewish holidays. And now it adds to the Polish Jewish bookshelf, and I imagine the Polish non-Jewish bookshelf, which is probably pretty large for the interest that Poles have in Jewish things. So
I think the Polish Jewish bookshelf is a longer bookshelf, and there are more shelves in the houses of the non-Jews of the Polish Jewish bookshelf.
It's true, but I also put out an English version since just threw it out on Amazon. So that's nice, that I'm able to publish that.
Please contact Avi or me or the JCC if you'd like to purchase any of those.
My pleasure. So now we move on to the next challenge, the next project.
I wrote some limericks.
Yeah, you're so good at that. You should really just release a book of the Jonathan limericks.
Thank you, Avi. So
by the way, when I joined the JCC all those years ago, did I get a limerick?
You might have gotten, how could I really write a limerick to you or about you when you just joined? I didn't really know you.
I don't seem to recall any limericks about me, and I take issue with that.
Oh, I'll write a limerick with you during the AMA if you like. It will be ready by the end of the AMA.
Oh, you have a talent.
I will do that. I will take that upon myself to write a limerick during the AMA, which I will then read at the end of the AMA.
No mention of
what
the
are your
beard.
summer plans, Avi?
My summer plans, I'm going on a cruise. It is my father-in-law's 80th birthday, Kanai, and they're married 55 years. And we are going on a family cruise to Greece or to Cyprus or to Rhodes. I don't know, and I've never been, so I don't really know what's going on there, but that's going to be a big trip for all of us.
Very exciting.
Will I enjoy it?
The cruise?
No, the Greece part. The cruise, I imagine I'll enjoy.
Greece is the best. Greece is a great. I'll tell you what. Greece is, I think, the most. Underrated. It's hard to say Greece is underrated, but it is a little bit. You just have so many islands, and there's so many places to go. So it's great. I mean, I like to avoid the busier ones during the summer, but there's Greece is wonderful. The people are friendly. The food is amazing. Like. People talk, when they talk about the food, you talk about a food in a place, you say, oh, the food is good. You're talking about the cuisine from that place. But that's only one part of it. Like France, the French cuisine, but like in Greece, for example, to me, the best French fries in the world are in Greece. Something they do that's so good at French fries. Yeah. Amazing.
Maybe it's the lard.
Yeah, no, I always ask. There's no lard in the French fries. And that's savages. But I've been to Greece many, many times. I really love it. And I'm sure you'll enjoy it. I will be going to the United States in a couple of days. Direct flight, which is always exciting, from Krakow to Newark. We're going to be in New York a little bit. We are going to be a little bit out east in the Hamptons. I'm doing some talks. I have a couple of synagogue talks, a few different other talks, private talks. And then we are going for 9 days to Mexico. Well, that'll be exciting, where I will do no talks at all. I will not speak, but we're going to a nice place in Mexico and spend some time there. Hopefully the baby won't get any more tan. As one
going in the beginning of September to New York and to Ottawa to be a scholar in residence there, and I'll spend some time.
Scholar in residence in Ottawa.
Yeah, Ottawa, Canada. Thank you to Jonathan for
sounds fun.
For the hat tip. Yeah, so should be exciting.
You're welcome. I hope it goes well, but not so well that I'm jealous I didn't do.
I think it'll
be all right. We'll see. Let's bring in our guest.
Oh, looking forward to it. Drum roll, please.
His full name.
What?
Alexander Israel Israel Yekutiel Yakir Shabbos Kestenbaum.
Hello.
Proud native of Riverdale, New York. He worked for the NCSY. He worked for the Claims Conference, crisis specialist at Zaka, SAR Judaic Studies teacher, and most importantly, volunteer coordinator at JCC Krakow. His second time here volunteering during the Ukraine crisis. He was a Hillel president. We met him when he was just graduating from Queens College. And now look at him moving up in the world. Will be in a matter of weeks attending Harvard Divinity School. Ladies and gentlemen, Shabbos Kestenbaum from the basement of the building.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
How are you, Shabbos?
I'm good. I didn't realize there was like such a preamble to the AMA. So there was good like 20 minutes of entertainment. So thank you.
We like to keep you in suspense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do our shtick. Sometimes we get along. Sometimes we don't. Got to entertain, and then we bring in our guest.
Right.
We did the appetizer, and now.
Wow, I'm
Shabbos,
on.
How old are you, Shabbos?
23, and
you might be. We will check this. You might be our youngest guest ever.
Really? Okay, I'll take it.
Are you younger than Clementina?
I think I'm one. I don't know. I don't know if I'm supposed to say how much younger, but I think I'm younger than Clementina.
When she's like 24, I think.
Okay, right. Fine. Then I'm 1 year younger than Clementina.
30 years from now, you don't need to discuss that. But,
yeah, but I'm younger than her.
Shabbos Kestenbaum, the question on everyone's mind, and the first time in our AMA graphic that we've had repeated the question, Shabbos Kestenbaum, but your first name is not actually Shabbos.
Yeah.
But it is one of your names.
It is one. So in a nutshell, I'm one of 7, and my parents gave us all very unique names that reflect their personalities and spiritual identities. So I have 7 names, and of the 7, the last one is Shabbos. So I was born on Shabbos, so my parents figured, why not? And
wait a second, you have 7 names?
Yeah, did you not hear my Avi? You're not listening to me.
He wasn't listening. I have 7 names.
Let's go through your 7 names, Shabbos. First of all, do you remember your 7 names?
Years of practice. I think what's more impressive is I remember all my siblings' names because it's.
Yeah, that was one of my questions. So
you go to the Torah. You go to the Torah and you recite 8 names.
Well, no, because we only do the Hebrew ones, but my dad also has a few names. So I only get an Aliyah on Simchas Torah. The Gabbis, once they hear it for the first time, then they're done.
So wait, let's go through it. Your first name, Alexander, pretty straightforward. We don't need to go too deeply into that. And now you have Israel.
Yeah, so Alexander's after Alexander the Great. Israel is after the country. Then X, the letter.
Yes, your third name is X. Can you explain?
Yeah, so the story that I was told, and I'm happy to fact check it, but the story I was told is my great-grandfather, his name was Yisrael Yekusiel, which is 2 of my names. And when he moved to the United States, he started going by Xiel, Xiel. So to carry on that legacy, I guess, like my great-grandfather, instead of giving me Xiel, they gave me X. And now when I go to the airport,
also gave you Yekutiel. You got both.
Yes, I got both. Yisrael Yekusiel and then also the X. And funnily enough, it happened more than once, which is why I'm saying it, that when I go to TSA at the airport and they see the X, they're like, oh, like Malcolm. And I'm like I guess, but no relation. And then they move along. So I always thought that was funny.
And then, okay, so Israel and Yisrael.
Yes, so Alexander Israel X, Yisrael Yekusiel, which is my great-grandfather, and then Yakir Shabbos. And Yakir Shabbos is, there's a story in the Talmud of Yosef Bukarshabi, who always wanted to honor the Sabbath. And one day he bought like the last fish in town, and it happened to have been that fish had a diamond inside. So because this Yosef Mukarshabe honored the Sabbath, he was rewarded. So I'm Yakir Shabbos. I hold the Sabbath I hold it dearly. I hold it in high esteem, I guess. So
what does it say in your passport?
So on my passport, we just did the English sounding ones. So Alexander Israel X Kestenbaum. And then when I get an Aliyah, we do the Hebrew ones, which is Yisrael Yekusiel Yakir Shabbos ben Daniel Yahuzev.
So I thought I was bad. I'm Eliyahu Yoel Yosef ben Chaim Yaakov Leib. I'm 3 ben 3, which everybody looks at me like I'm crazy. But I got
3 ben 2.
Yeah, 4 ben 3 is definitely pushing it. But unfortunately, I definitely, please God, when I have a kid, I think I want to continue the 4 name thing.
Of course, you got the whole nutty thing going. Now I have to go. I want one. Can you tell me all your siblings? You're 7 of you in the family?
Yeah.
And how you all have all these long...
Yeah, we all have pretty out there names.
You have your brother. What's the breakdown between boys and girls?
So there are 4 boys. I'm one of the 4, and there are 3 girls. So I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters.
Can you give me the whole rundown of one of your sisters' names?
Yeah, I can give you one of them. So my dad has an interesting upbringing, and he became a Lubavitcher Chassid. And when the Lubavitcher Rebbe's wife, the Rebbitzin, died, he named my sister in her memory. So her full name is Charlotta India Chaya Mushka. So Chaya Mushka is the Rebbitzin. India is because my father always felt spiritually attached to the country. He's very big into yoga and to meditation, and he actually printed either the first or one of the first books of Chabad Hasidic philosophy in India. So he always felt close to the country. And Charlotta is a great grandmother. My namesake's wife.
Now,
And what name does she go by?
She goes by Lottie. And I actually think that your daughter and Lottie are friends, but I could be wrong on that. So I have to get back.
How old is she?
I don't know if she wants me to say, but 30.
So my daughter Ellie?
I don't know. Probably.
so wait, Shabbos. Now I have a question. You'll forgive this question, but what your father is how old?
Just turned 60.
So he was born in 1962.
Yes.
Okay, because I was thinking, I wanted to know if all these names and this whole thing was like a 60s drug type thing. He would be a little young for that.
Yeah, I mean, he did once visit the House of Love and Prayer, Shlomo Kalabach's place, and actually, I'll tell you something funny. He once took us, me and some of my siblings, to a Kalabach retreat in the woods, and we went on a hike, and this Rabbi Lisa or someone told us to hug a tree, literally, and by then he was like, okay, I think we'll call it sick for next year. But he always and still is, he always encouraged us to pursue spirituality although we are Orthodox, he pursued it and encouraged us to pursue it in very unorthodox places. So like he took my siblings when they were like 10 to Uman in Ukraine for Rosh Hashanah with 100,000 Breslov Hasidim. So he's a very open guy.
I see.
Your father's identified Lubavitcher now today?
Now, no. When the Rebbe died, kind of drifted away from that. We still do Chabad Minhagim. He raised us to have an affinity towards Chabad, but I'm modern. I'm a direct descendant of Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, so I sort of have like two competing sides of my religious ideology. So it's hard to balance them.
Shabbos, you have an interesting family, also your UK family. Can you talk a little bit about your uncle, Lord Kestenbaum?
Sure, Lord Kestenbaum, Uncle Jonathan. So Uncle Jonathan Kestenbaum is he's a lord in the House of Lords. He worked very closely with Chief Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs. He now works he worked for NESTA, the National Endowment for Science, Technology, and Art, and now he's just very involved in the Jewish world, the Jewish community in the UK. But he's a good guy. He gave of the many things he's done, he gave a fantastic speech. I'm not trying to divulge my political identity, but when Jeremy Corbyn was the head of the Labour Party and was the nominee, there was tremendous concern in the UK about the rise in anti-Semitism and what's going to happen to the British community and would they leave. And he gave a speech in public on the floor of the House of Lords, and he spoke about our family history and the needed element within politics today to stand up and to buck your own party sometimes, to call out anti-Semitism. So that wasn't easy for him to do, and that was pretty incredible.
Now your family, your brothers and sisters, they are modern Orthodox, or everyone's chosen a different path?
Good question. I mean, you're not gonna, especially you, Jonathan, you're not gonna like this answer because it's very cliche. But the Lubavitcher Rebbe said labels are for clothing. So it's a very cliche and vague answer. I would imagine they would all identify as Orthodox. I can't imagine they'd like the title modern Orthodox because it implies a lot of things. But for the most part, we're all pretty soulful. We've all found our unique role in the Jewish world. I love Hasidus, but at the same time, I dress, not like a Hasid. So I think we all struggle with our faith, but ultimately, I guess you would consider me modern Orthodox just based on the externalities, and probably my siblings as well, yeah.
Is your beard Hasidic driven, or lazy driven, or 3 weeks driven? Hipster driven? Like, explain.
No, it's actually really embarrassing. The beard is driven by the fact that I didn't bring an adapter for my shaver. So, because I forgot that, in Poland, it's this and not the American style. So I don't have a shaver. And then the 3 weeks, it's a good excuse. So people think, I'm very religious, but it's more so I forgot the adapter part. It's not a good look. So
depends who's looking.
Right. Well,
By the way, my daughter is friends with your daughter. Does that mean your daughter lives in Israel?
Your sister.
My
Your sister, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have 3 of my siblings live in Israel. And yeah, she lives in Jerusalem. Emek Rephaim, yeah, Jerusalem.
So you have
Sorry,
there's affinity to Israel in the family as well.
Well, this is controversial. My mom is a big Zionist. When she listens to Naomi Shemer in the car, she would cry. Eric Einstein, all that. And she's always wanted to move to Israel. She lived in Israel when she first got married, and she always wanted to go back. And my dad, he's not an anti-Zionist at all, but he's a non-Zionist. So he'll tell my mom, you make Aliyah, you get all the nefesh b'nefesh paperwork, find an apartment, and the second you do that, I'll come. But I'm not going to be the one to, advance the cause. So my parents are very, very different, but they have an unbelievable, beautiful, healthy relationship. And how that has worked, considering how different they are, is pretty remarkable.
Shabbos, I want to ask you, I'm going to move past a little bit in your family, but I just do want to touch on the idea because I'm curious about this. So your father set up the first auction house for Judaica, right?
Yeah.
And how much? So, I mean, was that something interesting for you? Did you want to go into that business? Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Just because that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. So my dad started I hope he's watching, but he started the first auction house in America specializing in rare Judaica and manuscripts. So I grew up in a house, and their apartment still today, where every single wall is covered in 15th century manuscripts. So I was raised with a sense of appreciation for Jewish history, Jewish culture. That's one of the reasons that brought me to the JCC Krakow, because I've always been fascinated by both contemporary Jewish life and the revitalization of Jewish life in Poland, and also its amazing history. And yeah, he always had this passion from a very young age. He would used to, I'm not encouraging this, but he would used to go to the library and just memorize dictionaries over the summer. So that's, I guess, one way of spending a summer. And
you're not encouraging. Were you worried that the young kids that are watching drop what they were doing and run to the library? You have to caution. I don't encourage this at home, kids, but you might want to go to the library and start memorizing dictionaries.
I'd rather, the drugs are okay. It's the
Did you
dictionaries.
need a disclaimer there, Shabbos?
So yeah, so he always had this passion, and he started the first auction house in America. He was actually born in Japan, raised in England, lived in Israel for a bit, and then he really is an American dream success story, because he always felt that America is the land of the free, and it's where I can be a Jew and be who I want to be. And he wanted to start his own small business, and that's exactly what he did. He moved to New York 30 years ago, got the office in Manhattan, raised us across the Hudson in Teaneck, New Jersey. Then we moved to Riverdale. And yeah, he always endowed this sense of responsibility for the Jewish future, and also an appreciation for the past. So he sold some really pretty cool stuff. I think the most relatable for this setting is, I think I told you this last week, he sold a phone book, the last phone book published in Krakow of the Jewish community. It was published in 1938, 39, very last one. And so bringing that home, and I get to hold it, and I could leaf through all the names and pages. And then just a few weeks ago, he had a letter from, I don't know if he wants me to say, but he had a letter from, a pretty important Hasidic Rebbe from the 1800s, and, seeing his signature, getting to read it. It's a very cool feeling. So my brother is currently, two of my brothers work for him. They're actually the only two employees, so nepotism does work. My other brother was the CFO. Now he's in Duke Law School, and then there's me. So we'll see what happens.
Shabbos, when I heard about the job in Krakow, I went to my bookshelf because my grandfather had a lot of Sfarim, and I picked up one of the books that he gave me. It's a 300-year-old book of the letters of the Ramah, Shitta Ramah. That's like almost the first printing of the famous Remu, and now I'm like 2 blocks away from where he is.
Wow.
So
yeah. So
cool.
when I went to the cemetery, actually the Remu cemetery, I was texting my dad pictures of some of the gravestones that I just didn't recognize, And within like 2 minutes, he texted me back, oh yeah, this is the, Megale Amukos, and this is what I sold of his, and this is actually in the next auction. So he's a walking Jewish encyclopedia.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool.
I think we'd like to meet your dad.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like sort of interesting. He's way cooler than me. So he'll be on your
set up a meeting.
Yeah. He doesn't, I have a bit of an ego, I'll admit it, and he doesn't. He's very humble, so he doesn't get his name out there as much. But he's offered all these times to be scholar in residence there and to teach at this university, but he's not so into it. But he should be, because he's pretty amazing.
Humble. We like humility.
Yes.
Humility is good. You kind of either have it or you don't. I find it hard to work at humility. But Shabbos, how did you get to JC? Your path, you've become a beloved volunteer here, volunteered twice. We'll discuss your menteeship. How did you get to JCC Krakow? How's a nice Jewish boy from Riverdale with a nutty name and a eccentric family? How does he get to JCC Krakow?
How do I get to JCC? Well, it wasn't easy. So, as I said, I always found Polish Jewish life, both the past and the present, to be fascinating. And as much as I don't speak Polish, my family is not only from Poland, they're from Tarnów, but actually my two great uncles, Yaakov and David Kestenbaum, they rescued thousands of Jews, including the Mir Yeshiva, by signing false affidavits. The Museum of Jewish Heritage in New York, they actually had a whole exhibition on the Kestenbaum family. And I had this sense of real pride in my Polish identity. I am actually in the midst of applying for Polish citizenship, although it was very complicated. And I wanted to be part of the community. I felt living in New York, if you don't show up for prayer, who cares? Because there are literally a million other people. And choosing to keep kosher isn't really a choice, because everything is kosher and everything is closed on Shabbat. So you're living a Jewish life, but not by choice, just because that's what your community looks like. And Poland, especially as an Orthodox Jew, and I was just telling a family we had visit the JCC an hour ago, I said, this is the only place where I like to wear my tzitzit, my ritual fringes out. Normally I tuck them in, but for whatever reason, when I'm in Krakow or I go to Warsaw or Lodz or Kutsk or wherever, I like wearing them out. And this might sound corny, but I really like that when I wear my kippah, some people on the street will like turn around or do a double take. I think it's like, it's a really, really great feeling. And the JCC is sort of at the epicenter of that. And this does not even include all of the relief work that you've been doing since February. But I always felt that this is somewhere I want to live in short term, long term, but certainly in the near future. It's somewhere I want to live, and it's something that I want to be part of. Because what's
Shabbos, how has your interactions with non-Jewish Poles been? Was it something you expected? Was it surprising?
So definitely in the modern Orthodox American community, the little people do know about Poland is this anti-Semitic graveyard. And when I told my friends that I'd be going to Poland, wearing a kippah, like, are you going to be safe? And it was weird for me to explain to them that, of course, and not only that, but Poles love Jews. I mean, sometimes it's a bit much, but they love us. They're fascinated, especially, I mean, you guys know way more than me, but especially the last 20, 30 years, there's been this fascination of Jewish culture, and especially as more Poles discover their Jewish identity. So they love it. The hostel I'm staying at, literally every day, someone will ask me, a non-Jew will ask me a question about what's that you're wearing, or is it true you like pray 3 times a day, literally every day. And I get to be sort of that representative of global Jewry, whereas in New York, you're just another schmuck. You don't really have a part to play. So I think
keep it clean, Shabbos.
Sorry. Well, right, we have the kids watching. And I think most of our associations, because it makes sense, is negative, because the only time most Jews, whether it's from Israel or the United States, come to Poland is to go to Auschwitz and to go to the Lodz ghetto and which makes sense, and you should do that, and that's important, but they're not really coming to the JCC as much as they should. They're not really spending Friday night here. They're not really meeting the people who have lived here their whole lives, and I think that's a big shame.
I think that the Orthodox, I think that, look at the world in different segments of it. I think that non-Orthodox American Jewry, which is the majority of American Jewry, does know about us and comes and visits. And I think that Israel, not that much, and Orthodox, from modern Orthodox to ultra Orthodox, do not. So I think it's always important for us when we have people like you that become then sort of the emissaries of what we're doing to the Orthodox world. So talk about your time here. You've been here twice.
Been here twice, yes. It's pretty different the second time round, I'll be honest. But yeah, the first time I was here was in March, around Purim time, and it was controlled chaos. Yeah. It was, I mean, insanity. You guys could probably speak about it at length, but yeah, I basically showed up. It's funny, I didn't really ask. I kind of just said, I'm here and what can I do? Because I figured you were getting different requests of all these volunteers, and I don't speak Polish, Ukrainian, Russian. I like sort of speak Hebrew, but I'm not really of use. So I figured if I ask, well, he'll just say no. So better just book the ticket and show up. And I was right, for the record. But yeah, I showed up and there was it was insanity. I mean, in a really positive way, in the sense that there were just so many people who wanted to help and so many people who needed help. The shop that we have, for those who've been to the JCC, we have this shop in the model of a grocery store to provide dignity to the refugees, that they can choose these supplies that they need, whether it's clothing, medicine, food. And it's very organized. And what I do every day as the volunteer coordinator is I make sure that all the food is split up for the days ahead. So tomorrow we get a shipment, which is supposed to last us Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday, Monday morning. So making sure that all that is split up, making sure it's all packed.
Buying it in bulk and then you're breaking it down.
Yeah, buy it in bulk. I could, whoever is watching, I'm happy to show you pictures of what the basement will look like tomorrow morning. It's the amount of food we go through, and it's all used. Not a single bean is put to waste. Every single thing is used. And what's really cool about my job is we have in addition to getting to know the refugees and hearing their stories and being I don't want to say a shoulder to crying because that's really demeaning, but we have art therapy outside and it's really nice. But in addition to that, all of our volunteers are from literally the four corners of the world. We have the volunteers today were from Westchester, Norway, Irpin in Ukraine. And then we had one volunteer who lived in Kiev, then moved to Tel Aviv, and then wants to go back to Kiev. So, and that was just today. So we have a pretty diverse range of people, diverse range of experiences. And thank God we run like a pretty well-oiled machine. There has not been a day where we run out of things, we had to turn people away. That has not happened. And please God, at least under my watch, I'm going to try my best to make sure that doesn't happen. And it's really rewarding when people leave feeling that their basic needs are met, but not just that it was done in a dignified, respectful manner. That's a win-win, and we get to do it every day.
It's very important for me that it happens in a certain way. Not that it's easy to just give people help. It's not easy to give them in any way, but if you're already giving people help, if you've managed to go through the trouble and you care enough and do this, then you need to go and take that extra step, I think, to make sure that it's done with dignity and thank them, do it with a smile, not make them feel that they're below you, although you're giving them a bag of beans, really, or pasta and whatever else we're able, milk and things that we're giving them. It's important to me that you feel that aspect of things is working.
Yeah, and when I was here in March, there was just so many donations all the time. It was hard to sort of keep up with the demand, and there were suitcases here and there, which makes sense because there was just so much coming in. And now it's really incredible. And we have a staff who work 24/7 to make sure that this machine keeps going. And to your point about making sure that everyone has their sense of humanity in them, what I really like is we also have kid juice boxes, and we have some candy that we give them. And obviously that's not a necessary staple as milk and flour is, but it sort of adds that nice touch of you're also a kid and you're going through, whether you realize it or not, you're going through a pretty remarkable event in human history, but at the same time, you're a kid. So yesterday we took our volunteers to the palace, this palace, this castle, where it's totally converted to house Ukrainian refugees. And we brought our volunteers there yesterday, and they had a water fight with them for like 4 hours, and the kids loved it. And they said, when are you coming back? And that's, anyone could do it. You don't need a degree from here, and you don't need to send your resume. Just show up. There's a great, I don't know if I could say this, but there's a great line by a director. Okay, there's a great line by a director. I won't say his name. And he said that 90% of life is just showing up. And that's so important and so crucial to the work that these volunteers are doing. They just show it. I mean, they have to email us. At least they should try. Otherwise, it's not good.
Shabbos, 99.9% of the world, Jewish world, learns what happened in Ukraine, and some of them gave donations, and then a small fraction of them got on a plane and picked themselves up and came here and said, I'm here to help. And that's a testament to something unique about you and a lot of people like you who did show up and say, you just got to be here. What did you feel that prompted you to say, you know what, I'm not just sitting at home. I have time in my summer. I need to be here. What was the weight of the event that you felt?
Yeah, it's a bit of a complicated answer, but I've always really liked my Jewish identity, and I'm going to divinity school to pursue the study of theology and how it can influence public policy. And I've always been involved, not always, but I've more and more so been involved with social advocacy and social justice. My Rabbi Avi Weiss, is a pretty staunch defender of the Jewish people. Love him or hate him, he put himself out there when no one else would. And he taught me the value in showing up. He took me to Auschwitz 2 years ago to protest the church on the grounds of Birkenau. And that was my first real experience of protesting. And yeah. And we were outside. It was like, I think 14 degrees Fahrenheit. We were outside for like 12 hours straight. And the SWAT team came and they boxed us in with their SWAT vans, and they gave us an arrest summary. It was pretty crazy. But since then, I started doing advocacy for Uyghurs in China. So we had protests at the United Nations. And then when the war in Ukraine started, I organized, some protests outside the Ukrainian, the Russian consulate, a rally of Jewish solidarity in front of the Ukrainian consulate. And I liked that I was able to show some sort of solidarity, but at the same time, I didn't really feel like it was doing anything. It looked good on the front page of the Jewish Link, but that doesn't really help anyone. So it sounds corny, but I really wanted to help. And especially at this time in history, our kids are going to ask us, what did we do when the greatest refugee crisis of the last however many years happened? Where were you? What were you doing? And I could say, okay, I was in New York and I did a nice protest. Or worse, I could say, well, I was on vacation. But no, I don't say in the trenches, because there are people who literally are in the trenches. But in one small way, I was able to do something. And I was actually just telling some of the volunteers a great story of the boy and the starfish, of their starfish stranded on the beach, and he starts throwing them into the water. And some guy says, why are you wasting your time? There are thousands of starfish. You'll never be able to make a difference. And the boy picks up a starfish and he throws it in the water and he says, well, to that starfish, I made a difference. So we can make one difference to one person a day. I think it's incredible. And I'm really, really privileged.
It's not our responsibility to finish, but it doesn't mean that we don't have the responsibility to begin.
Yeah.
And Jonathan quoting the Talmudic sources. Unbelievable. You're influenced by Shabbos.
Not only the guys with beards can do it.
Yeah, the real reason I came here actually is to be to influence you, but that's my side mission. So,
nice. So tell us, what exactly is the meta mission? Like world conquest? Like, are you joining Jonathan's special team? Like,
I said,
where's Shabbos?
Shabbos drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, drinking the Kool-Aid. As I said, I've always loved public policy and politics. When I was 18, I ran for mayor of New York. That was a cool experience. I've interned, a few senators' offices, through congressman's office.
How many votes did you get?
Well, I dropped out, but that was only because I did not understand campaign finance law, and you get like 10 years in prison if you mess it up. So I didn't want to, But so I dropped out. So I've always been interested in politics, and I've also been interested in the Jewish world and Jewish nonprofit. And I think what's happening in Krakow and what's happening in Poland more generally is phenomenal. I don't understand why there aren't more Jews and to be even more exclusive, more Orthodox Jews here, because history is at literally every building, at every corner. And so if I could live here for a few years, I definitely see that in the mix. Running for office one day is definitely a goal, but I don't know how practical that is. But Jewish nonprofit / public policy / both of them is definitely something.
I think what you start to see is that in terms of running for office is that if you want to do good in the world, it's hard to do a lot of good if you run for office. There are easier ways to do good than getting into politics, unfortunately. Unfortunately, and that might not be true everywhere, and probably local politics may be a little bit better, but
I might add on to Jonathan and say, if you want to continue to be good,
right, stay away.
It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard.
It's difficult. That's the difference between, the older you get and the more you're exposed to it. I guess you've been exposed to it a little bit, but it's, you're a congressman means that 90% of your time is just trying to stay in office and fundraise because you're on a 2-year cycle. So, there's complicated issues with that, but I'm sure you'll, but no, I think what you say about the Orthodox aspect, it used to be there are 3 aspects of the Jewish experience in Poland, right? There's the part that we all know too much about, really, as Jews, the tragedy, right? We all know, we all have a PhD in 1939 to 1945, pretty much. And
movies.
At least the Orthodox, when they visited, used to also go to the Rebbe grave of this Rebbe and that one, and connect to the history a little bit. Whereas the non-Orthodox were pretty much just about the Holocaust. But the third aspect is life, and I think now the Orthodox, have never really come around to this idea of seeing not everybody, and of course it has happened, but Avi and I have this discussion a lot. It's not automatic that the Orthodox group will come here. It doesn't have to be to us. It can be to a JCC in Warsaw or to, it's not automatic. It is not, I'm not talking about us as an institution. I'm talking about this idea. It's become automatic in the non-Orthodox Jewish world that if you come to Poland, or you come to Krakow because there's Auschwitz, and you connect to Jewish life and you see a preschool or something because there's Jewish life once again. And you have to see it because it's good for you to see it, but it's also good for those people who are finding out they're Jewish to be seen and heard.
I'll tell you, Jonathan, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I was in the JCC, and a cousin of mine, ultra-Orthodox, in a seminary in Israel, like very, very religious young girl. And she said, I'm going to be here with my group of 100 girls. And I said, come visit me in the JCC. And it's 9 years I'm here, and this has never happened. And it just happened to be that we're related, so she comes with, as I say, 100 seminary girls. And we spoke for half an hour, and they were blown away. And the guy says to me, can we come back next year? Can we come back another time? It's just that they don't know. And it's, it's our job to try to find a way to reach those people that are a little further away and like, oh no, we wouldn't want to go. So
Shabbos thinks he's only going for the next 2 years to get a master's degree in divinity at Harvard, but he's going to be on the payroll of the JCC. We're not letting him go when he leaves. We'll figure out his next role, some kind of emissary to the Orthodox. We're going to keep you. We can keep you on the team, Shabbos.
Amen.
JCC ambassador, JCC Krakow ambassador.
I like it. Shabbos, there's some very important questions that we need to get to before we let you go.
Okay.
First of all, are you on Team Latka or Team Hamantash?
Probably Team Hamantash.
Interesting.
Wow.
Oh, is that controversial?
Oh, no, just
but 90% are usually Team Latka. Interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because Latkas are just better. But no, you have,
What's that line? You're entitled to your wrong opinion.
Right. You're entitled to your opinion, not entitled to your facts. So
yeah.
Is better. And Shabbos, very important. What are your 3 favorite films of all time?
Oh man, you really put me on the spot.
You're the 92nd one. You could have watched any of the 91 previous AMAs, Mr. Harvard, and realized I asked everybody these questions at the end.
Okay, I'll do the most recent one, Arrival. Very underrated, but it's fantastic, especially if you're into linguistics. Arrival, Come and See, which is the Belarusian film in the 80s about a partisan group. Very disturbing, but very important. And then Probably The Wizard of Oz. That was actually one of the lines from The Wizard of Oz is in my yearbook quote. So I know it's not very,
Wow.
not very
Shabbos,
intelligent.
we will give you another chance to.
It's not a very intelligent answer.
We're not in Kansas anymore. What was the line?
No, it was something about gratitude, but it's like a throwaway line. I don't even know why I picked it, but I redeemed myself with a Steve Martin line for my high school yearbook. So that was a good.
Which was?
It was it's also really stupid. It was a day with a day without sunshine is like, you know, night. So I don't know why I picked it, but
here's the best yearbook quote, I think, is this, the following, which is the answer to the question of what is the, you know, what do you want out of life, right? And the answer is three things: to vanquish your enemies, to see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentations of the women. This is the proper answer to the question. Anytime somebody asks you what you want to do in life, you say those three. That's from Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
I have not. I've heard
answer.
that many times from Jonathan.
Correct.
That's Jonathan's motto.
And on behalf, when anybody asks the goal of the JCC, Avi, what do I say? Our goal?
World domination.
World domination via community building.
Obviously.
Clearly.
Good luck with that. Good luck.
Shabbos, we're so happy to have you as a welcome part on our welcome part of our team. You have the rare ability to be a Orthodox Jew and for me to get along with you.
Badge of honor.
No small feat considering my upbringing.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You know, I'll tell you what, and in all honesty, sometimes you meet people and you're like, wow, I'm so excited for the life that person is going to live and to see what they're actually going to do. And you're one of those people, Shabbos.
Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to seeing what becomes.
We are on Team Shabbos.
Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Really, really appreciate it.
All right, Shabbos. Thank you so much.
Right,
back to work. Back to work, Shabbos.
Take care.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a great summer.